Antholz. Initially we thought and hoped that it might just be today's sprint that she would miss, but she's confirmed that she's woken up with cold symptoms. Those have persisted over the last 24 hours, and she's saddened by missing this stop, but says all she can do now is focus on resting and getting back in time for the World Championships. She won in spectacular fashion in the mass start over 12.5 kilometres in Ruhpolding, Chad, at the end of last week. With flawless shooting, and she started to get back into really good form after a little dip a couple of weeks ago, and so we'll miss her and her presence today. Someone who is back though is Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold, and you've got high hopes for her today.
Well, yeah, I think that she's rested. She didn't go to Ruhpolding, and that might have her a little bit more ready to race than the rest of the field. You look at this as the third week of 3 straight weeks of racing. 3 to 4 races per week for each athlete, and that is a lot of racing. And I think when you have the talent of Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold and you had the time off, that you may have a slight advantage. So I have a star next to her name and an asterisk next to her name. But I think the biggest thing is that you look at the loss of Elvira Uber today changes the scope of the favorites for sure. She was so fit in that last race in Ruhpolding. But oftentimes, I've done a lot of coaching since then, and I've seen this happen. Is you have when you have spectacular performances, you need spectacular recovery, and a lot of times athletes get sick off of great performances, like we saw from Sunday in Ruhpolding with Uber, and now she has to wait and prepare for the World Championships. This is absolutely the right move for the Swedish coaches and for Elvira herself.
Yep, it's been a intense 3 weeks of back-to-back racing, and with some longer race weekends thrown into the mix as well, the 5 days in Ruhpolding that we've just come off the back of, and there really is no opportunity to rest once the athletes move it straight into practice and training, and it's definitely, as Chad said, a decision that's been made with the World Championships looming on the horizon. And of course, a period of rest between now, the end of this race weekend, and then, as we see Deidre Irwin of the USA, who is wearing bib number 1 today. And well, Chad, there's plenty of big names going in the early order, and one of the surprises, potentially Paula Botte. This, of course, due to her ranking. Plenty who, as we see, Deidre Irwin just getting a little bit caught coming around the corner, who are new to the sport, might be surprised to see her starting so early on.
Yeah, what happens is Paula Botte, she's got a World Cup victory. As you see Deidre Irwin step into the start gate for Team USA, she's got a season best of 15th right now heading into this sprint in Antholz. She starts this field off. But Paula Botte and Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold, we think of them as contenders for the overall victory. Remember, you need to be in the top 30 overall rankings to get in those seeded groups from 16 through 30, and then 30 through 45. And neither of those athletes are in that group, so they naturally fall into this first starting group, as we see Darcy Martin of Australia also starting. So it's not terribly surprising, because Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold is holding a overall ranking of 40th in the overall standings, as is Paula Botte. Despite that victory, she's only raced in a handful of races this season. Botte has actually only raced in the last 3 races, so she hasn't accrued enough points to move into that seeded group. So they move to this first 15. They kind of become the early standards for the entire field.
Natalia Kocigina in the distinctive race suit of Lithuania, wearing bib number 3 today. Her personal best was 25th in the sprint in Annecy just before the Christmas break. 10 out of 10 she shot on the day, and you can see Paula Botte, who took that very impressive victory in the sprint in Oberhof, pull up to the gate. Bib number 4 today. And Chad, well, we could see something very special indeed from the early orders.
Yeah, this is obviously an athlete who can win. She won in Oberhof. This is just her 19th World Cup start. It's hard to believe that she's already got a win. But, lightning strikes twice sometimes, and she is certainly, as Marta Olsbu-Roysland said in this Norwegian media, she believes the French athletes will do well today, because most of them have been born and raised at altitude, and this is an altitude venue, so not as big of a natural adjustment for their bodies if you've grown up and lived at high altitude.
Yeah, and exactly as Chad said about the point, she does have that sprint win in Oberhof. She was then 14th in the pursuit and 46th in the individual in Ruhpolding. So hasn't accrued enough points yet to find herself in one of the seeded groups, as Deidre Owen, our first athlete through 800 metres. Nadia Moser of Canada, with number 6 today, a personal best of 23rd from the Pursuit in Hochfilzen back in the 22-23 season.
Coming off of solid top 30, or nearly top 30, 31st in the individual in Ruhpolding last week. That's her best finish so far this season individually. Moser makes her home in Canmore, Alberta. It's most of the Canadian team does the Olympic site from 1988, and that is one of the most beautiful spots in North America. And luckily, there's a biathlon range and a biathlon facility at that beautiful spot. But a little jealous of everybody who lives there, so I got a little jealousy with Nadia Moser.
Venla Lehtinen of Finland, the 29-year-old who boasts 93% prone accuracy this season. She's been smashing personal best left, right and centre, 7th in Annecy in the Pursuit.
Part of that kind of rising Finnish team, but Lehtinen, the least consistent on the start order, seems to be maybe dealing with some health concerns or just not, or fatigue. His Botte coming through the 0.8 kilometer time check, just 1.3 seconds ahead of Dieter Irwin of the United States. It's a good time start for Dieter Irwin to check herself against the World Cup winner from Oberhof. Pretty competitive time for her.
Johanna Skottheim of Sweden, 5th in the individual in Ruhpolding. That's her 5th World Cup flower ceremony.
Yeah, and just basically solidified a spot on the Swedish team. I think she's pretty tentative as to whether or not she's going to get a start in this Antholz World Cups, and I think that leading the Swedes in the individual is probably a pretty good thing for her future on the team this season.
And a loud roar as Michaela Kalala made her way out from behind the advertising board and up towards the gate. The 27-year-old in the form of her life, and she got very used to starting early in the order. Her personal best in the sprint in Oberhof 2 race weekends ago, finishing 16th.
Here's a great shot of the big climb right before they head back down into the stadium. This venue is, it isn't very difficult of a course. The profiles aren't very steep. It's a great course for somebody who glides very well, who keeps their speed techniques up. This is one of the few places where you actually need to break into the climbing technique for the in the V1 technique or offset. Some of the men don't even drop into this technique on this climb. So it's very much a course where you can kind of carry your speed, but it's the lack of oxygen that is a challenge.
Well, after missing in Ruhpolding, opting to just skip to Antholz to start her training and preparation for this race weekend. Ingrid Landmark-Vandervold gets her race underway.
Yeah, in the preparation, we talked a little bit about how difficult these weekends are, week in and week out, and that's kind of one of the biggest difficulties of transitioning from a developing athlete like Paula Botte, where you're younger and you don't race as consistently and as condensed as a World Cup, and you don't travel as much. So there's time for training and development, but that's the biggest challenge is going from a model of training in which you are preparing for an entire World Cup season as opposed to just trying to peak for World Championships. When that gets disrupted, like Ingrid Landmark-Vandervold did with her heart problems in December, she's got to go back and deal with that, and then she has to build some fitness back up. And she realized that if she didn't take Ruhpolding off to build the fitness, she's not going to have a spot to do that for the World Championships and still arrive on good form.
Yep, so she's wearing bib number 12. No podiums here. But one today would sure mark her return in very good fashion indeed. Deidre Owen first into the range, bib number 1 for the United States of America.
Hasn't cleaned a sprint race yet this year. She's hit 9 for 10 twice. You can see that's another thing you can expect here. Longer time between shots because of the altitude. Taking maybe an extra breath between each shot. So it almost looks like they're shooting in an individual competition. Slower cadence. Oh, and there's a miss. Tough start for Dieter Irwin. Very deliberate. Doesn't mean you won't see people taking a chance, because you still have to be quick. I mean, you're giving away seconds when you take your time, but expect to see a few more people taking their time here compared to, say, a range like Ruhpolding.
And so once around the penalty loop for Deirdre Irwin. Here is Ingrid Landmark-Dandervold. And this is the 0.8 of a kilometre mark, and she slots in 5th, 1.9 seconds behind Paula Botte.
Nothing to show any concern there. She was within the 2 seconds of the first kilometer of the leader so far, Paula Botte, but you can be sure that some of the later starters in the field will come through there quicker, as Botte now comes in for her first shooting. This range, one of the big changes I've noticed from this range is they have a huge building now built on the left side, the shooter's left. That used to be wide open to the valley below, and that would have a wind coming up and down the valley, which made this a very volatile shooting range. I believe that infrastructure, as you see a miss from Botte, but that it should stabilize the shooting conditions for the Olympics and make them a little more predictable, as well as for today's competition. Botte also very deliberate. You can see very slow shooting cadences. Nobody really coming in and railing him yet, because of the thing you have to remember too is they're coming from low altitude basically for the last several weeks, coming up to a high altitude to finish off a 3 weeks of racing. It's a really tough proposition. From a coaching perspective, it's kind of like the worst possible place to put an altitude race is at the end of 3 weeks of racing.
Anna Magnusson getting her race underway. As Nadia Molser of Canada pulls into the range.
We can expect at the Olympics in a year's time, a little over a year's time, that the athletes will be coming in much more prepared for the altitude than they are today, because of the natural progression of this World Cup circuit. They will have a gap, time to train, a pause from the World Cup to the Olympics next year, going into the Olympic Games. So while we're seeing pretty slow, deliberate shooting this year, we might see very quick shooting next year in the Olympics when the medals are on the line.
Bib number 20, Anna-Maria Lampic, minus 7% skiing in comparison to the average of the field, but only 51% standing accuracy.
Well, 6 skiers through now, through the first shooting, and nobody clean yet. So everybody's got, there's a one miss is the standard, as now Lucy Sharvatova comes in with a 3.2 second lead over Paula Botte into the shooting range. Sharvatova, a 79% prone shooter, which is her strong point. She's 54 standing. But a chance to take the lead here with a clean shoot.
Her only podium here at the World Championships, finished 3rd in the sprint, but one miss next to her name.
And she knows she can succeed here, but that miss is just a shame, because she's probably going to accrue at least one more from the standing position with her shooting percentage this year.
Well, Amy Berserga, Bib 22, 3rd in the individual in Ruhpolding. Previous best before that was here in the mass start last season. That was her first top 10 finish.
It's such a big confidence builder to get your first podium finish. So you see Skotheim now come in to shoot. She's 7.4 seconds in the lead over the leader after shooting one. Venla Lehtonen, who's the first one to go clean. We missed her shooting, but Lehtonen now the leader by just 3 seconds over Sharvatova. So Lehtonen not skiing very quickly. Skotheim matching the average. Everybody with a miss except Lehtonen now from Finland. Michaela Carrara now of Italy. She's got 6.3 seconds on Lehtonen. You can see that most people are going to come in with a negative time as Lehtonen's the leader. She's the only clean one so far, though, and that's why she's leading. Until someone cleans, we're probably going to see every skier come in with a green light on the in time coming in. But now Carrara should take the lead.
Yep, she'll leave with the green light. Let's see how much by, though, as she pulls away from the mat. It looks like it will be inside 5 seconds. It'll be 3.7. Michaela Carrara, the new leader after shooting one, with 11 of our 101 athletes through this point.
Here's Tenderville now. Comes in with 6.9 seconds on Carrara. Moved her left elbow there. Don't like when athletes do that. When you lay your elbows down, you want to keep it solid and get the same position as normal. But so far she's negotiating it just fine. Got just inside 20 seconds to get to that time check to take the lead. Really slow shot. 5 seconds to the last shot, but she gets it.
Yep, she does indeed. The sprint discipline winner from last season. One of her 2 discipline titles, the other being the mass start in the 2021 season. It is Elisa Gaspelan, who announced her retirement after 15 seasons on the World Cup, taking part in 2 Olympic Games and the World Championships on home snow in February will be her last.
Tenderville now the time to beat by just 0.3 of a second over Michaela Carrara. That tells me that Tenderville's ski speed, probably not what she's used to at this point. Still maybe finding her fitness coming off that training block. Here's Gasperan now trying to challenge, and she'll take the lead.
And first miss for Bendica of Latvia, that's 2 now.
You can see that there's very little, if you watch the shooting, the people who are succeeding are falling just a little bit outside the, their normal routine. It's a little bit slower, a little more deliberate, and then, again, that's just the altitude speaking. Laura Hristova, big 15, 21 years of age. Currently sitting 82nd in the overall standings. She comes in with 7.2 seconds in arrears and a chance to take the lead. Probably not going to get there with just 11 seconds left, but still, solid start for somebody who's ranked in the 80s in the overall standings.
Yep, very short, solid shooting indeed. 5 out of 5.
Not a name we normally follow after the first shooting stage, but here she is. But still the 21-year-old, getting a little bit of time at the front of the leaderboard.
And she'll slot in 6th, 9.2 seconds behind the time of Gaspelan. That's an incredible 94% prone accuracy. And her PB was actually from this course last season in the short individual. We had no sprint last season, and she finished 25th on that day and has made a good start today. Here's Anna Magnusson.
She has a good time, 7.6 seconds faster than the leader, Elisa Gasperan. That's a pretty solid ski time. Gasperan and Magnusson evenly match on their statistics ski time. So I think Magnusson maybe a little bit faster than her average.
4 athletes through shooting 1. Clean. It's now risen to 5.
Oh, they're going to miss. Uncharacteristic of Magnusson. She's a 90% prone shooter, and she misses one there.
And the last shot only just sneaking in as well.
Again, your heart's kind of pounding through your chest. Now you see bib 20 coming in, as well as bib number 4. Bib 20 was Anna Maria Lampic. She's the fastest time by 9 seconds coming in to the stadium. And Paula Botte with a penalty, still leading by 25 coming into the standing, but only 3 athletes in front of her.
Yeah, you can see Lampic pulling up next to her compatriot. Another miss. That's 3 misses on the day now for Paula Botte, and that is her race over in terms of trying to find a podium and a top 10 finish. Anna Maria Lampic, a miss for her, and it's only 1 miss.
It's pretty solid. I think Lampic can go, if she can go 1-1, there's an opportunity for her to win at this altitude shooting that well. She didn't really slow her shooting down terribly much either. Pretty normal for her. It's a sign that maybe she's not feeling the altitude effect as much.
You could see she'd caught up with Lena Lepinch, her compatriot, who started 30 seconds before her. And these are the current standings after shooting 1, with 19 athletes through the first shooting stage. That now rises to 20. We're expecting 101 starters. We've got 1 DNS, that is Elvira Urberg.
There's Venla Lehtinen now, bib number 7. She's made up the 30-second stagger on bib number 6, Nadia Moser. Lehtinen clean from the prone position. It's still sitting, if you back split back to the first shooting stage, she's 5.3 seconds out of the lead after prone. So it's still a very realistic shot at taking the lead here. She comes in 9.2 seconds slower than Paula Botte, the current leader, after 2 shooting stages.
Anna Oberg beginning her journey with 36. As we go back to Venla Lehtinen.
It's in a nice solid position. Her barrel movement's very minimal. Taking her time, very slow, deliberate shooting. This is going to be well over 30, maybe 40 seconds of shooting time. But she gets all 5, and that's a clean day for Lehtinen.
Yep, 10 out of 10.
Yep.
Really nice day in the office in terms of shooting. The coaching staff who we see a lot of, particularly in zeroing behind the range, be very, very happy with that. As Venla Lehtinen over the line, 31.4 seconds her advantage, and 1 lap to go. This will be where she can try and throw down a quick time. 5 out of 5 for Anna Gandler.
Ingrid Landmark-Tannerville on that second loop, coming to the standing shooting, leading at 3.3 kilometers, but she's only leading Lehtinen at that point by 8.2 seconds. Tannerville now comes through the 4 kilometers, and she's 11 seconds ahead of Lehtinen. So we'll keep an eye on that as Michaela Carrara is clean through one stage. But there's her first miss from the standing position. She came in with an 18-second lead over Lehtinen, but she's going to give that away now with 2 missed shots.
Yep. Twice around the penalty loop, an extra 300 meters. And that advantage that she held coming into shooting 2 has tumbled away. Anna-Karin Heidenberg, the next of the Swedes to take to the snow. And, well, that is never what we want to see. A problem for Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold.
Not sure what happened, but she's carrying her rifle, which suggests that she either something gave way or she fell. Her split times coming in the shooting range, 7.2 seconds back. It's going to be interesting to see if she tries to shoot with that rifle and then hand it off and finish with a spare from the team. Each team carries a spare rifle, but it's not 0 to you. One athlete on the team usually zeros the team's spare. I'm not sure what happened here, but it's clear that something's broken. Her harness is broken on her, and she's going to try to shoot with with the harness swinging off the bottom of her rifle. So she's going to try to get the shots. This is very rare to see in biathlon. I've not seen, and it doesn't look like she's fallen. It looks like maybe just her harness was not well attached to her rifle. That little rail right at the end of her stock on the purple part, that's where that bolt goes, and it's given way. Now what will she do? She's going to try to ask for some help. Maybe get it. Oh, she's going to finish with the team spare. I think this is the smartest thing to do. She's got a spare. She's going to finish with. You have to finish with a rifle. Doesn't have to be the rifle you started with, but you have to finish with the one on her back. So she's done her shooting. We'll ski off the penalty loop. But a tough day at the office for Ingrid Landmark-Tannervold. That was well done in terms of the chaos that has created.
Yeah, a good recovery. A miss for Elisa Gaspalan.
So Lehtinen stays the first clean athlete through 2 shooting stages, as Gasparin will go once to the loop and will lose the lead. So Lehtinen leading for Finland still with 12 athletes through the shooting stage.
There's enough damage control from Ingrid Landmark-Tannervold. She exits shooting 2 in second. She is 20.1 seconds down on the time of Venla Lehtinen. This is Hanna Öberg coming towards the, through the first, one of the first time checks for her. There we go. It's 1.5 kilometers. As she slots into third, and the red and yellow bib of Franziska Ploys, and a large German contingent, as you can see in the crowd.
Anna-Maria Lampic just flying through that 1.5 kilometer mark on the first lap. She's 10 seconds clear of Hanna Öberg, but Hanna Öberg still sitting in third, just behind Polina Bartowska-Fialkova. Here's Hristova now, who we saw in the first shooting stage. She goes 9 for 10, solid performance for her.
And Anna-Maria Lampic as well, up to 4 kilometers, is, as you rightly say, Chad, she's flying, and she's more than skied off that penalty loop.
Lampic now the leader at 4 kilometers. Despite a penalty loop, is now Anna Gantler cleans for Austria, which we haven't seen. She is leading Lampic by 8 seconds at 3.3 kilometers, and after shooting 1. Yulia Jima in there as well. We haven't seen her either, but Lampic taking time out of everybody out on the course. Nice shooting by Kamila Cuk now. Comes in with a 13.6 lead. I think this is going to be a new leader for Poland.
Yep, no doubt about that. She's got plenty of time to reach the time check, and it will be a significant lead as well. Take a look at the clock as she goes past the red signage. It's 19.3 seconds that she leads over Venla Lehtinen. Here's Anna Magnusson. We saw Justine Bressard-Boucher getting her race underway as well. Tofsa Fialkova in for her first prone shoots. It's a miss, so 2 on the day now for Anna Magnusson.
Big day for Kamila Cuk potentially here. She hasn't had her best finish is 6th, but that was way back in 2019 as we see Paulina Batoska-Fialkova, who was skiing very fast. Starts the day with 2 misses though, so a little bit too fast on the skis. Here is the compelling story. Can the Slovenian knock down some standing targets? She's got a big lead, 17.4 seconds over Lehtinen.
Well, the biggest roar of the day, no doubt, for Dorothea Viler. 2 misses now, though, for Anna-Maria Lampic in this standing shoot. And
that's
well,
just too many.
Race over. Yep, far too many.
She's fast, but she's not that fast. So 3 times around the loop, that'll add a minute plus, about a minute 20, minute 15, minute 20 of skiing penalty loops for her. She should still have a solid performance to set her up for the pursuit competition, but here is Hanna Oberg now. She comes in just 0.2 seconds behind the lead time of Anna Gantler, who's on a flyer for Austria right now. She's clean. Time to beat 7:05.7, that of Gantler on the top of your split board. 16.4 seconds, pretty quick. This is a pretty quick cadence compared to what we've seen from everybody else at altitude. Hanna Oberg looking really good, and she's 5 for 5. Still going to be tight, but she's on with the shooting and the skiing.
Yeah, it will be very close indeed. I don't think she'll have enough to take the lead, or maybe she will. It will be 9/10 of a second that she takes the lead from Anna Gantler of Austria.
So with her sister sitting on the sidelines, Hanna Oberg's finding the fitness. Here is the finish now of Venla Lehtinen. The first time we've seen anybody ski up this hill and around the shooting range to finish in Antholz. It's the new feature and borrowed from the Holmenkollen venue in Oslo, which will be the final stop of this World Cup season. And this built especially for the Olympic Games. Bulletproof glass there, obviously, as the athletes are still shooting in that direction. But Venla Lehtinen, you can see she's tired, but she's giving it everything. Has 22 seconds at 6.5 kilometers. Will it be more or less at the finish line?
Well, she'll round the corner and down that short descent and towards the line. You can see it there. That's Kocagina, who's just come over the line, bib number 3, and it's a final push from Venla Lehtinen, who will take the lead with 4 athletes over the line. 9.2 seconds, clean shooting on the day. And she continues to show her good form and improvements, even though you know that time won't stand for very long.
Anna Gantler sensing that she had an opportunity to do something special and misses the final 3 shots of her standing. And I think we won't see her again among the leaders. Here's Justine Bressard-Boucher now at 0.8 kilometers, just getting started, but still she's only 3.5 seconds off the time of Lampic. Nobody else within 10 besides Preuss. Preuss was 10 back, or excuse me, at this point, Hanna Oberg was 4 back, so Justine Bressard-Boucher halfway between Lampic and Oberg. But this is the surprise of the day. Kamila Cuk, best performance ever, 6th place back in 2019. Her most recent top result was this season in the sprint in Annecy, where she finished 8th. So 1 time inside the top 10. So she's shown that she has the form this season, but this is something somewhat new from Kamila Cuk, and she's leading by 23.8 seconds with just over a kilometer to go.
Here's Michaela Kolala, 2 misses in the standing position, pushing towards the line, and she will go into the lead. 2.9 seconds. 2 misses on the day.
That's a nice ski time. She has 2 penalties and beats Lettinen, who is clean. Jean Richard now comes in 3 seconds down to the leader after prone, which is now Hannah Uberg by just 9/10 of a second over Gantler. But Gantler had 3 misses from standing, so not a real valid first time check for the shooting range for Gantler now. Richard going past the time of Uberg, but clean.
And the blue bib is the leader in the under-23 competition. Here is Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold, who was on a really good course until an issue with the strapping of her rifle. She had to change it out after the second shoot. She will finish the race, but it will be far from what she would have known she's capable of without that technical fault on the rifle. She'll be welcomed home by a strong Norwegian contingent in the crowd, and it will be third for now for Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold, 3.6 seconds behind the time of the leader, as Franziska Preuss takes the lead coming into shooting 1. And she's clean, and that's very nice from Franziska Preuss.
That was fast shooting. We haven't seen anybody really throw it out there like she did just there, but Franziska Preuss, and I think she'll get rewarded with the lead. If not, it'll be very tight between her and Hanna Uberg now from Sweden. And she falls outside the time of Uberg and into third, but right there knocking on the door.
Indeed. It's her and Hanna Uberg with the quick shooting. Eye-catching quick shooting. Here's Julia Zima, who also goes clean, 10 out of 10.
And she'll challenge now the time of Zuk. Justine Boucher comes into the prone as we watch Zima leave. Zima's going to be tight. It's very close to the lead for the Ukrainian. Boucher cleans from the prone position. First we'll see Zima after standing.
Yep, so into the lead, 1.1 seconds her advantage after shooting 2. This is Justine Boucher, who's 9.4 seconds in the lead. Hanna Uberg trailing by 9.4 seconds now as she leaves the prone shooting. And that is, a big statement laid down in the first lap for the Frenchwoman.
Well, let's just put this in perspective as we watch Camila Zuk come to the finish. Lampic only outskis Justine Boucher by 2.6 seconds and has a whole host of misses. Justine Boucher is skiing even with Lampic and shoots fast and clean, and that's why she has a huge lead after shooting number 1.
Well, Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold still soaking up the crowd and the atmosphere here in Antholz as Camilla Zuk coming towards the line. It will be more than enough for a commanding lead as things stand. 26.1 seconds sitting at the top of the order. Her personal best 6th from Soldier Hollow back in the 18-19 season as Dorothea Vela goes 5 for 5.
There's too much to handle here. We got to keep our thoughts tight because every second something's changing here. Dorothea Vela, she's probably not going to take the lead here, but I think that if you look at the speed with which Vera skied the first loop, it's immensely fast for her compared to the rest of the season. She's just 6.7 seconds back of Bryce Boucher, who has been out skiing her all season by much more than that.
Well, this could be, and it will be, her last visit here in the World Cup circuit. She'll, of course, have her sights set on competing here at the Olympics next year. Lou Jean Minot. 3.9 seconds, no advantage coming in.
Looking for that famous Jean Minot focus. Very rarely see her break concentration like we just saw there. Not as composed as she normally is. She's usually laser. She still gets all 5. But again, the high altitude maybe just a little bit checking the athletes as they're coming in to shoot from this first prone position. Jean Minot could take the lead. It's going to be very close for the lead again.
0.6 of a second in it, but Jean Minot is in the lead. Brassard Boucher pushed down to second. Here's Hanna Uberg looking to go 10 out of 10 and one miss. And it will be 9 out of 10 on the day for Hanna Uberg once around the penalty loop.
I think she needed that. She needed that. She needed to be 10 today because she's just not skiing fast enough to touch Brassard Boucher. She's 15 seconds back, halfway around the second loop. Here's we're watching Amy Beserga, and this is Beserga behind Lampic. Lampic too many penalties to really figure into it today. But Beserga trying to take the lead over Zuk of Poland. It's funny, I call these races from Antholz for all these years where they didn't go around the range. I had a pretty good idea where they needed to be to take the lead. Now it's completely new territory for me.
Well, she has 20 seconds to get to the line, and well, you imagine that will be more than enough to bump Kamila Zook down. It will be plenty. She's over the line, 12.6 seconds. Amy Beserga into the lead after taking her first World Cup podium, third in the individual in Ruhpolding. This is Kristina Dimitrenko, goes into sixth, clean on the day.
So she's just a second and a half off of Venla Lehtinen, who also shot clean. They're the only two. They are sitting in fourth and sixth. And Beserga currently leading Kamila Zook at the finish. Both of them clean, 12.6 separating the Swiss woman from the pole. Likely to be supplanted by somebody. Hannah Uberg with a miss now from shooting number 2. Back out on course. Jima out on course, coming towards the finish line. She's in a near deadlock tie with Kamila Zook the whole way. And here she is, putting a little time on her.
Yep, 2.3 seconds as she goes through 6.5 kilometers. So just 1 kilometer left for Julia Jima.
Yeah, she's going the right way on Zook, but not in massive strides. She's only gained a second on her since the shooting range.
And the range falling quiet.
Julia Simone. What's her time going to be coming into the shooting range? She is 15 seconds shy. So as we've seen all season, Julia Simone, her shooting performance and her ski performance dropping just a little bit. She's 7% worse on the shooting range right now than she was this time last year. And she's going to need to hit targets because her ski time is not in the mix. It's 15 seconds off the pace of the leaders. Well done.
Hit some targets. She did, 5 out of 5. And let's see where she comes out of shooting 1. In third, 7.3 seconds, and it's quickly back to Jean Richard, the blue bib, who has come in for her standing shoot.
Simone took 8 seconds out of the leader, Lou Jean Monod, on that shooting range. So that's significant. She's tied with Dorothy Avier after prone. Now Richard goes clean.
Look at that, 10 out of 10 for Jean Richard. Her maiden podium last weekend. And could she be on course to go back-to-back, and if not, secure a first victory? Let's take a look at the time. She will be our new leader. And, well, she'll need to throw down a big final lap with those who are behind her. But 8.1 seconds. Jean Richard, well, what good form this is.
Hannah Uberg with a miss, the first with a miss in the standing. She's 5th after standing with 12.6 seconds in arrears. And she might be able to make that up over the final 2.5 kilometer loop with the way she's skiing. Here is Preuss now as Lotte Lee comes to the finish.
Oh, it's quick from Franziska Preuss. It's very quick indeed, and it's clean. Franziska Preuss. That is spectacular.
When you're wearing the yellow and the red bib and the race is this tight, that's what you've got to do to win. And she's showing that she is almost unconscious out there, just doing what she needs to do to be the winner.
It seems so second nature for Franziska Preuss, who puts that blip in Oberhof well behind her.
There is Jima now coming to the line. She's trying to take down the time of Amy Beserga. Meanwhile, split at shooting number 2 is Preuss leads by 12.9 seconds over Jean Richard. Braissard Boucher has a miss, and she's got 2.
That won't be enough for Braissard Boucher.
Preuss now trying to hold off late chargers. She's got Jean Richard where she wants her at almost 13 seconds, just a tick under that. And Jima loses time. He comes into second. So Jima had the lead at the last time check, and the downhill into the range and climb into the stadium lost her aggregate 4 seconds to drop into second place. Amy Beserga still at the top of the leaderboard, and she's got to be pinching herself. Could she get another podium this year? Still looking for late chargers. Here's one of them. Ocean Michelin, bib 62. but she's not quite on the time of the leaders coming in. And likely not going to shoot as fast as Julia Simon did.
Vela as well in for her final shoot, 3 out of 3.
Oh! Miss for Vera. She needed that hit. She knew that Price was clean.
And a miss for Ocean Michelon as well.
Vera was the last one to win the sprint competition contested here. That was 2 years ago. They had an individual last year in the World Cup, so last sprint winner, she went 0-0 to win by 2.8 seconds in a tight one.
Yeah, spectacular here as well, and that home World Championships, so dominant.
She's got the time to win. Lou Jean-Monod skiing very well. It's basically between her and Price now. Looking good for Jean-Monod. New leader.
Yep, very good indeed. Selina Glotienne as well. Well, she goes 5 for 5 her first visit, but she's 15 seconds off the pace in shooting one. She'll leave with Lou Jean-Monod behind her, and of course further behind her on the tracks as well. And look at that advantage. Once again, Lou Jean-Monod dominant, and 21.3 seconds ahead of Franziska Preuss. Just one time round the 2.5 kilometer loop to go. Here's Jean Richard.
And Jean Richard looking very good coming out of shooting two, trailing Jima.
But
Jima.
yeah, here she is at 12.3 seconds ahead of the time of Julia Jima, and looking on course for another podium.
Here's Hannah Oberg now, 9 for 10 on the day. It's not going to even be enough to take down Becerga. Becerga should stay in the lead spot here. Going to fall behind Jima as well, and might get took by the line moving to third. It's going to be very tight. Yeah, she's going to get it in the third spot.
So into third for now, but with the times we've seen elsewhere on the course, it won't be for long. Here's Idalin. First shoot, 13.7 seconds down.
Lou Jean-Monod, the fastest time after prone. Lean, going to be in the picture though, but she's going to need to be perfect on the shooting range to even have consideration of a podium finish. Only Clementic in the breakout. Clementic comes in 40 seconds down to the fastest, 40.1 down to Lou Jean-Monod. And we'll add another 23 to 24 seconds of penalty loop onto that time gap. Looking back out on the course. Now here's Lou Jean-Monod coming into the 5.8 kilometer mark. Time back. Time to Price was 21.3 in the negative. She's losing a second and a half to Price from the shooting range. So Price, I think Jean-Monod is basically, she's right out at her limit coming into that standing, and she probably hasn't reserved much. She knew she had to go based on the early splits, and now she's just going to try to hang on to the lead.
Julia Simon shooting two, just inside 20 seconds, down on the time of her compatriot Lou Jean-Monod.
It's going to have to be spectacular. It's going to have to be clean and very quick on the shooting range to take some time out, and that wastes her a couple seconds. You need to almost be a pristine shooting performance, and already it's less than that.
Yep.
And getting worse.
So that's Julia Simon out of the battle for a podium today. Jean Richard just goes through the screen, and we can focus on the blue bib now of young Jean Richard, who is in exceptional form, the 22-year-old. And you can see she's still having to work incredibly hard. Her first podium on the World Cup circuit in Ruhpolding last weekend, coming third in the mass start. She comes so close to finding her way onto the podiums before that. 4th in the mass start in Nancy, 4th in the pursuit that weekend as well. And surely this will be enough for Jean Richard to go back-to-back podiums, 7.2 seconds. That is going to be hard to beat in terms of the 3rd spot. But we'll have to wait and see if it will be enough.
She's got Dorothea Vera, though, who's flying out on the final lap. Actually making a little bit of time on Franziska Preuss. Both of them losing time to Lou Jean Monod. Lou Jean Monod is having perhaps her best ski performance of the season in Antholz in this sprint. Here's Preuss to the finish now.
Yep, Franziska Preuss, who has well and truly put that blip from Oberhof behind her. She can soak up the atmosphere. So many German flags. As she comes across the line, 24.2 seconds her advantage at this point, leading Jean Richard, who will try and cling on for a podium position here. And Franziska Preuss, the yellow bib, and you can see it's split with the red, indicating the sprint leader in exceptional form.
Here's Anastasia Kuzmina, the 3-time Olympic champion, starts with a miss though. 40 years of age now, coming back from a retirement and deciding to come back to biathlon. She's languished mostly on the IBU Cup since her return, but has recently rejoined the Slovakian team on the World Cup and showing signs, but not at the top of the order. She's struggling a little bit with the cadence necessary to maintain a chance at the victory. But 8 for 10 on the day, should be about a midfield finish for Kuzmina.
Here is Justine Brassard-Boucher, 2 misses in the standing position, and well, that puts an end to her podium hopes.
Still want to be set up well for the pursuit competition, and even though going to fall short of the podium, likely when all is said and done, she's going to fall outside the time of Pasega already, and she still has Jean Monod out behind her on the course. But a solid performance by Bruce. If you consider she's got 2 penalties, she's still time-wise in a fairly decent proximity to clean shooting Lou Jean Monod. But Jean Monod is having an outlier on the skis today.
Yep, someone else who is Dorothea Vera, who
Absolutely.
is on course for a podium finish now. It will be heartbreak once again for Jean Richard, who, as things stand, we expect to see her pushed down to 4th place with Lou Jean Monod and Dorothea Vera, who is over the line in 2nd. Fourth in Ruhpolding, and it would be an exceptional farewell in terms of the World Cup circuit. Of course, she'll have her sights on coming back for and competing here at the Olympic Games next year. But Lou Jean Monod, once again, a dominant performance. A big gasp of air, 16.7 seconds, and no one will be able to push her off top spot today. Another victory.
Just looking at her last lap, you can see she lost time the whole way. She was on her. She was absolutely charging from the beginning of the competition. And when you shoot clean, charging like that at altitude, that is an impressive amount of confidence in your shooting ability. Great performance by Jean Monod, the complete biathlete today.
Shooting number 2 is from Germany, Salmela, faster than Preuss.
Ganz stark, da liegt Grotian nur 9,1 Sekunden hinter Schomolo. Wird alles stark kennen.
Plenty of tired bodies.
And this is not over yet. You can hear the stadium announcers talking about the race of Selena Grotjean to the crowd on hand. And Grotjean is actually moving faster than on the skis than Preuss over the second lap. So we definitely want to keep an eye on Grotjean, as she's currently sitting in 5th at the 4-kilometer mark, but just 15 seconds back and clean. Coming in to shoot now is Grotjean. She'll be following just behind Ida Lean. But Grotjean is shot standing. We missed it. She's clean. Grotjean has moved into second now. You see her time there, 9.1 seconds back. So throw her name into the mix. And Ellard, though, 2 misses. That's going to dash her hopes, and she resettles. And this is her Achilles heel in the sport. If Ellard could figure out the standing position, she could be a competitor day in and day out. 3 misses already.
Malik Kreider. Inside the top 10 for now, but as Chad rightly points, we missed her shooting on the feed, but Salena Glossian is through clean, 10 out of 10, and she's up into second. So hopes of a podium for Dorothea Viera are starting to fade.
Grotjean 13 seconds ahead of Preuss and 18 seconds ahead of Viera with just over 1.5 kilometers to go. There's Julie Simon now coming with 1 miss on the day. Not going to take down her teammate Jean Monod. Likely not going to get on the podium either. She, at the last time check, she was sitting in 6th with everybody, with the favorites through, with Grotjean through.
It was a really slow first lap for Salena Glossian, who was picked up the pace tenfold in the closing stages.
Yeah, she was just 14 seconds back of Lou Jean Monod coming into shooting number 1. Amazingly, Jean Monod was faster than Lampic coming into shooting 1. We don't see that very often, and that's what I'm saying. This is a massive step forward for Jean Monod compared to the rest of the field. I don't know if it's the field feeling tired or if Jean Monod just having a great day, but that is an atypical ski performance on the positive side for Jean Monod today to take this win.
Julia Simon, 38 seconds back, over the line in 4th.
And we can't quite gift wrap this for Jean Monod yet. Just 7.6 seconds. Grotjean gained 2 seconds on Jean Monod. Came up to 7.6. Now she's 7 seconds back, so she's taken 6/10, but she's not eating into the time that Lou Jean Monod enough yet to say that she could take the win. But it's possible. Mostly downhill from here. Take a right-hand turn on this course, get into a tuck, recover, and then one last climb into the stadium around that shooting range and into the finish. Can she get 7 seconds in a kilometer? That's the question.
Well, that would it would be a huge surprise, and it would be a huge performance from Salena Glossian, who already has 1 victory to her name this season, winning the mass start in Annecy. Jean Monod looking like she'd laid down enough of an advantage to hold on to top spot in a fashion similar to what she did in the individual in Ruhpolding, but it has been eaten away by the young German.
7 seconds was the gap at 6.5 kilometers. 7.5 kilometer event. It's mostly downhill. Very hard to make time on downhills unless you're absolutely spectacular at them and can work them and find ways to find speed. Here's Ella Halverson now for Sweden. 9 for 10 on the day.
Halverson over the line in 15th.
Really big step forward for her this season, 25-year-old. Spent most of her career on the IB Cup, and it should give young athletes who are out there still trying to toil away in their mid-20s some hope when you see somebody like Ella Halverson make a big jump like that mid-career. Here's Grotjean now. Coach is urging her on, telling her she can do it, but it's got to be something special.
Well, we won't see it on the screen, but we do get a peek of the time check and the time difference at 7.2 kilometers, and it is now down to 5.3 seconds. But you can see it's just the other side of the large warehouse-style building there is the finish line, and it does seem like Salena Glossian will run out of time.
50 seconds to get to the finish. It seems like a little too much from where we are. She's going to go up and around the shooting range, this new configuration, then back down into the finishing stretch. She's at 40 seconds now, 38 seconds, and it's probably not enough. I think she's probably about 4 to 5 seconds shy.
But don't take away from this performance as we see Ochelin Michelon.
Grotjean started a minute behind Michelin. Michelin's going to come across the line in the top 10. 6th place. Another solid performance. She just keeps rolling.
And here is Selina Grotjean. As you see the time of Lou Jean Monod fly past, she will be inside the time of Francisca Preuss though, and she will have given Lou Jean Monod a scare there, managing to cut the deficit to 7.2 seconds, and it will be 2nd place for Selina Grotjean. A 2nd World Cup podium. And a pat on the back from her teammate Sophia Schneider. And there are the intermediate results. Lou Jean Monod holding on for another victory.
Dorothea Vier with I would say a little bit of a breakout performance on her skis this season. And I think you can expect that. She knows this course like the back of her hand. She's lived here. She grew up as a youth athlete. She's trained her whole life on this venue. And so there's just something a little bit special about coming home. And I think we saw that a little bit, that's something special in her ski experience today.
A 5th win of the season for Lou Jean Monod. And her first sprint win of the season as well.
Jean Monod's time just compared to Dorothea Vier's winning time 2 years ago, 9 seconds slower, or 10 seconds slower, almost to 10.1 seconds slower than Vier's win in 2023.
And the first time she's stood atop the podium here in Antholz. It's bib number 80, Hannah Ockenthaler. One miss in the prone position, coming in 70 or 83 seconds behind the time of Lou Jean Monod.
Just another one of the Italian athletes who lives right in this valley, just a few kilometers down the road of her home and where she grew up. Her father, the U.S. Biathlon team coach right now. And Ockenthaler very familiar with this venue and goes 9 for 10, solid day. Coach Joni Kakkonen, the Finnish native who is the shooting coach for Team Italy, looking on. He also a former U.S. Biathlon team coach. Kakkonen and Hannah Ockenthaler's father worked together for the U.S. team. Ockenthaler moves into 28th, and Martina Tarbucci is 82 out of 101 serves. Good for her.
Really good clean shooting for Martina Tarbucci.
24 years of age. Her best finish is 41st. She's well inside that. She's going to slot into the top 20.
Yep, set for a huge personal best today, Martina Tarbucci. And will be roared home on home soil. Just inside a minute behind the leader. Izzy Deline, 3 misses and just struggling in that standing position still. Will be outside of the top 40. A strong finish to ensure her place in the pursuit on Saturday.
Yeah, if you're the French team, you're feeling pretty good right now. You've got 1st, 5th, 6th, 7th with inside of a month to the World Championships. If you're Norway, you're a little bit concerned. You've got Ingrid Landmark Tandvold in the top spot with asterisk next to her number. I'm sure that has something to do. Oh, excuse me. Maren Kierkegaard in the top spot in 12th. Ingrid Landmark Tandvold in 21st at the finish right now. And Norton and Lean just coming across the line at 46 and 47. So the Norwegians, they're going to need to do a little soul searching as to how they approach the upcoming World Championships, because they're a little in a difficult spot right now.
across the board, they've lacked consistency. With some real highs, but some real lows as well, as Hannah Ockenthaler with one miss goes into 29th. 93 seconds behind Lou Jean-Monod.
Here's Ragnhild Femstanovic challenging for the top Norwegian spot with Maren Kirkeide. She's 1 second ahead of her at the last time check. So with the World Championships looming, can Femstanovic solidify her spot on that World Championship team? This might be a big statement for her, as I believe they're going to want to see some good performances from their athletes. And if she is the top Norwegian and she's left off the team, that might get some that might make some noise in the Norwegian camp.
And
just a minute out.
Yeah, won't be enough to finish ahead of Maren Kirkeide. 44 from Stanovic.
Smile and a wave from Rodden. Still haven't seen any announcement yet from the Norwegian camp about their World Championship team roster. Should be. I thought we were going to see that after RuPoling, and I haven't seen it come across the ticker yet. I've seen the cross-country World Championship team being named already, and they have another extra 3 weeks to go, but they named that team early. Regardless, Femstanovic with a solid performance, 9 for 10 in the top 15 right now. So winding down this field of 101 competitors, Lou Jean-Monod with a spectacular ski performance as well as perfect shooting. I mean, when you ski nearly the fastest, if not the fastest, and you shoot perfectly and quickly, you're going to win a Biathlon World Cup. Of course, total time right now, Lampic the edge on the course time by just 1/10 of a second over Lou Jean-Monod. If you look at the actual statistics, she came into this, Jean-Monod ranked 4th on the ski time so far this season, but 2.4% slower than Lampic. So she erased a 2.4% ski time. Either that or Lampic dropped a 2.4% slower ski time today. Anyway, it slices Jean-Monod with an outsized performance on the skis today, coupled with clean shooting, puts her at the top of the leaderboard by 7.2 seconds over Selina Grotian. But Grotian also skiing at a much faster rate than she's used to or statistically shown this season. Not even registering in the top 10. Grotian comes in just 7 seconds back in biathlon of Lou Jean-Monod. She was the 4th fastest ski time, 17.6 seconds slower than Lampic and Jean-Monod.
This is Martina Trabucci, who will need to really rally over this. Well, she's inside now the final kilometre. If she's to find a new personal best today, it's a strong step up. Personal best 17th in OC in the mass start. Another of the athletes who has made a big step up, just continued to smash personal best, and she had an excellent weekend in terms of her performance. And OC Le Grand Bonnard before the Christmas break.
Watching those ski statistics is really kind of critical as to form an opinion of where somebody is with their best and peak form. You look at somebody like Grotian, a sign that she's timing things pretty well coming into the World Championships, as this is the final stop, and she's skiing faster than she has all season long in this sprint event, and nearly takes the win on a great ski performance and clean shooting, and that should give her a lot of confidence as they train for the World Championships after this Antholz weekend. Great shot of that Olympic Stadium for next year.
Hannah Ockenthaler will fall outside of the top 20. has done more than enough to secure her place in the pursuit. And 29 for Hannah Ockenthaler.
Her top finish so far this year, 9th in the NC Sprint. So she was absent for the World Cup weekend in RuPaul. Makes you wonder if maybe she's coming back from some time off due to stress or illness. There's Trabucci now.
She put a short message out on Instagram confirming that she was under the weather with some cold symptoms. Here's her compatriot and teammate Martina Trabucci. Clean shooting. A good day for the Italian team. And Trabucci over the line in 20th. 10 out of 10. And Remy at 24 behind Ruth 1 minute.
So 82 finishers now. Trabucci just shy of her personal best, 17th place was her top finish in the mass start earlier this season. And see, she's having a breakout season in which she's had her four best performances of her career this season. But Lou Jamineau doing it the best. And with Elvira Uberg out, puts a little more distance between herself and the Swede in the overall World Cup standings. And inches a little, just ever so slightly closer to Franziska Preuss, who she was trailing by 142 points today coming in for the overall yellow bib.
Yep, she'd have been very grateful to see Selina Glottien slot into that second place, just taking a few of the points away from Franziska Preuss, and the advantage still away of the leading German.
Well, for her efforts, if this stands, which it should, Glottien will get, Jamineau will get 90 points for her efforts today, while if Preuss stays in third, she'll receive 65 points, a difference of 25 points. So that 142 drops down to 117, the gap between Preuss today and Jamineau at the end of the day. And there is nobody really showing any signs of moving into the top 50 at this point with athletes still on the course. So you can pretty much chalk those statistics up and jot them down and rely on them. So the final starter on the day, Maria Zdravkova of Bulgaria, her personal best 46th. She's doing better than that. She's clean on the day, and she's going to be inside the top 30, it looks like. It's a big day for her. She's 20 years of age, so still a junior.
And having to do it from well back in bib 101.
Looks like she's overtaken at least one athlete ahead of her, still in the shooting range. You see the final starters coming through here. Bib 98 in there is United States Chloe Levins, bib 97. Konstantina Charlene Pidot of Greece, in the light blue suit. So just taking a look back down the results, of course,
7.2 second win for Lou Jean-Monod. Salina Grotian with a exceptional final lap to put herself into second, and Franziska Cloyce rounding out the podium. When you look a little bit further down though, Chad, Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold, who was on for a very good day, she finished 90 seconds off the pace of our eventual winner with one miss, but there is a small star next to her name. We of course at the moment don't know what the jury and the officials are looking into, but you can assume that it's something maybe to do with the handover of the rifle.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I didn't see anything with the pictures we saw as we see Margie Fried come to the finish with Team USA. I didn't see anything that would warrant a disqualification from my point of view, but we saw a very limited picture of what happened. She clearly, her harness came off her rifle. I don't know if it came from the fall. Those harnesses need to be fastened to the stock of the rifle, and it looked like it's very easy to maybe not tighten it enough or have something go wrong with the hardware. But she did come in, shot with the rifle, and then left with a spare rifle. The only thing that I can think of is that she needed to finish with the rifle she shot with. That's the possibility that goes into my mind, the possible thing, that she couldn't come in, shoot with the rifle, then hand the old rifle over. She may have needed to actually fix the rifle she shot with or shoot with the spare. That's the other thing. So either way, neither are great time savers, we'll say. You're going to shoot with a rifle you're not as comfortable with. It's probably her own spare rifle because she is a left-handed shooter. And it was a left-handed rifle that she left with. It might have been one of her old rifles or her old stock on a team spare. But that's the only thing, and I got to be honest, I'm not on top of the rule as to whether you need to finish with a rifle you shot with. I would assume that wouldn't be the case, because if she fell after she shot and had to come into the finish, you would either have to carry that rifle in or get another one. So I think that will be obviously be decided by the jury. I'm not entirely going to assert that one or the other is correct, and there may be a rule that I'm overlooking here, but
well, it does.
Unfortunate.
It does look like in the latest results of 90 athletes for the 101 over the line, of course, one DNS as well, that being Elvira Erberg, that the asterisk has now been removed. So we will do a bit of digging, and we will try and find out as to what the conversations were and what the question marks were around the finish of Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold, who came across the line, dropped down now to 23rd.
But it doesn't look like she was handed any time penalty. A lot of times when you see an asterisk, there's something, you can get a 2-minute penalty for a multitude of things. Missing a penalty loop will add a time penalty to it. She didn't do that. There's clearly something with the rifle that they need to review. And when they put an asterisk, it doesn't mean that she's necessarily in trouble. It just means that they are reviewing it. And now it looks like the review is over, and she takes 23rd spot.
So our final athlete still out and around the course. 91 now over the line, and another great day for the Germans. Salina Grotian, second podium of the season, obviously after taking victory in the mass start in Annecy, and the exceptional form of Franziska Cloyce continues.
Yeah, dare we call it a renaissance of German women's biathlon. To say so would mean that they've been in kind of dire straits, which isn't entirely true either. But we saw at the start, if we consider back to Kontiolahti, when we saw the start orders and the names in the start order, some pretty young athletes in there. It was a pretty big change of guard, and you could probably feel there was some, I would guess there was some questioning of those choices for those World Cup spots, just with the youngsters in there. But I think the Germans have proven that their choices of giving these younger Germans a chance at the World Cup start order has paid off, at least in the form of Grotian for sure. And Tannheimer is not here, but she has had already a flower ceremony this season.
Yeah, particularly Julia Tannheimer stepping up, still just a teenager, and Salina Grotian, who is not much older. Both well decorated at junior level, junior world championships, plenty of gold medals as part of the German team in the relays and in the individual events as well. And Salina Grotian has made the step up to senior biathlon look quite seamless to feature on the podium twice. So we're just over the halfway mark of World Cup races, obviously just behind it if you include the World Championships. But Salina Grotian one of the many revelations of this season, with plenty coming out of the German camp.
Yeah, but still a little bit of health issues. You get Vanessa Voigt not here. She already has a podium this season and is not on the start here. Has only raced sporadically since the 7th race of the year in the pursuit in Annecy Le Grand Bernard, and she's not really returned with any kind of prowess. She did start in Oberhof and finished 68th in the sprint there, and then finished 70th in the individual in Germany. So that's not a great sign either. So then you look deep. You're looking at relay possibilities. You've got Scherer, who's here today. Scherer finishing currently in the 53rd spot for Germany, and Sophia Schneider in 28th with 2 penalties. It's good skiing for Schneider. So while they have Tannheimer back in reserve, and you've got Vanessa Voigt kind of on injured reserve list right now, the depth still isn't there to weather a big bout of sickness for the team. So it is good for Germany, but you're in 2nd and 3rd right now. But there is a little bit of a lack of depth right now, and some question marks as to who's going to fill in those relay efforts for the Germans in Lenzerheide.
I think it was evident, though, their performance in Ruhpolding as the German women's team took back-to-back victories in the women's relay, that whoever you put on the relay team, they will give everything for the flag. And I would argue that there is plenty of positive signs to take a look at, particularly in terms of relays, that they could swap half the team out and still finish with the same result.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the point is right now there's not a lot of depth behind today.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of time to the World Championships. I don't think they're in any kind of trouble. I think you're absolutely right. I wouldn't say they're in trouble. There are question marks right now at the moment, and I think probably the coaching staff probably has a good strategy to how to float the Germans into those World Championships, because they're going to have to. If you look at the top 10 right now, or even just the top 6, 3 of the top 6 are French at the finish line. Or top 7, 4 of the top 7, 3 of the top 6. Auchan Michelin in 7th. It's a pretty formidable group, and Sweden and Norway really don't have any answers right now either, with Elvira Uberg out sick.
Yeah, and it's the same if you look at the total score as well. Before today, France had 5 in the top 10, and their under 23s as well performing very well. As we can take a look at the results, and Lou Jean-Monod, another victory to cut the gap ever so slightly to Franziska Preuss in the overall standings. Lou Jean-Monod, when she's focused, she is so hard to beat, and it was 7.2 seconds. The gap that back to Selina Glotienne, who finishes on the podium for the 2nd time this season, an exceptional final lap. While Franziska Preuss was pushed down to 3rd. Dorothea Wieler finishing once again just off the podium alongside Julia Simon and Jean Richard. And that rounds out the flower ceremony, with Ocean Michelin finishing just off it, and Amy Beserger as well. Another good day in the office to finish 8th, shooting 10 out of 10.
I think you have to, if you look at the ski times too, you have to make note of Dorothea Wieler with the 3rd fastest course time on the day, 15 seconds shy of Lampic and Jean-Monod. And Jean-Monod having a spectacular performance today. And Selina Grotjean as well. Those two aren't even in the top 10 in the ski performance for the season coming into this weekend, and they go 3 and 4 on the skis. Ocean Michelin also a fairly strong performance today in 6th on the ski time. And though she didn't back it up with her shooting, the podium winner from the mass start in Le Grand Bernard, Paulina Batowska-Fialkova, skied very well today. Just too many misses to be factored into the overall standings. But when you go into the World Championships, you need that ski speed. You need to see that you can do that. And this is a good weekend for those people to get some confidence that their ski speed is coming around to where they want to be for the World Championships. And those are some outsized performances that I think are worth focusing on today, as Vera Grotjean particularly.
Down the other end of the spectrum, you have Suvi Minkkinen, who won't race in the pursuit, and Chad, that has to be one of the shocks. 2 misses, but the ski speed not there today to make up those misses, and well, that is a real surprise after how consistent she's been this season. But then I suppose you'll make the argument that particularly in a breakout season, you can't continue that form for the whole season long.
You can't, and it may be a good message to making it. But the other thing that you have to think about is I thought of this when we saw Lefton and Clean, and as far back as she was ski time, and you can't tell across the board. But the Finns today clearly not with the ski speed, and then that leads to the question is did they miss the skis? And that's always a possibility. You have to look at the ski preparation, and with the Finns being as good as they've been this year, they look a shadow of themselves today, and that can often be chalked up to just the ski performance, the actual skis gliding on the snow.
And well, there are the total score standings. It's still Franziska Preuss who leads the way from Lou Jean Monod, who cuts the point advantage that Franziska Preuss holds, but only ever so slightly.
Minkinen drops a spot from 4th to 5th with that. It's the first race this year that she's been out of the points, or really been out of the top tier of the event, and will get a double whammy for falling outside the top 60. So that's a painful day for the Finn.
Yep, she's replaced in 4th by Jean Richard, the under 23 bib holder, the blue bib. Elvira Erberg, despite not competing, holds on to 3rd. She's 100 points ahead of Jean Richard, as you say, Chad. Sylvie Minkinen dropping down to 5th, Julia Simon in 6th, and Oceane Michelon, who will have her eyes on taking the blue bib off the back of Jean Richard. She sits in 7th, and great to see we have 4 under 23s in the top 10.
26 points separating now Jean Richard and Oceane Michelon, and right behind her, just another 7 points back, or 8 points back, is Selina Grotian of Germany. So they're all the top 3 U23s, all in the top 8.
And it's 117 points, the advantage that Franziska Preuss holds over Lou Jean Monod.
And just a great to get a look at this Olympic Stadium, the work they've done here on Antholz for the 2026 Olympic Games. Not a very windy day on this range. This range can be very tricky, as I've said, but I think the new building built up on the left side of the shooting range, keeping the wind out, the wind usually coming from left, right, and can be very strong. Then building a building there might make it swirl as well. So there's a lot of range dynamics that have changed probably from Antholz, from what's been in the past. Its long history as it's been 6-time World Championship venue. The most World Championships held at any venue in the world is here, and then now it's going to be an Olympic venue on top of it. So this is, in a lot of ways, the most historic venue of the sport of biathlon now. Ruhpolding built about the same time in the 1970s. They usually follow each other in the World Cup orders. You see Lou Jean Monod getting another victory here today. But just the lore of this venue continuing to grow as it takes yet another iteration of infrastructure. And what an amazing first day and a great race. We saw some great performances. Lou Jean Monod might be one of her best performances of her career. We'll have to get her word and see what she says about today.
Lou, congratulations. This is the first sprint victory of your season. Perfect 10 out of 10. Second fastest ski time. I mean, what's better than this?
Nothing, I suppose. Maybe first ski time. This was my main goal today, to do a great sprint because I wasn't able to do something great since the beginning of the season. So doing a 10 out of 10 was the main thing, and doing it with a good ski time is really cool.
So what was the focus to make sure that this fantastic result could come?
I was trying to be a bit more aggressive than in Ruhpolding about the shooting because I think I was a bit like a defensive mood. So yeah, my coach told me it's more attack, and I think it worked a bit.
It definitely worked well. How did you cope with the altitude so well?
We trained a lot on altitude this summer, and this is something we kind of used to because it's kind of normal to go on the training camps in altitude, so it's okay for me.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, Chad saying exactly what we expected. The French woman, Jean Monod, who you can see is up into third now with that victory in the sprint, her first sprint win of the season. Just more adapted and more prepared for the altitude.
Absolutely, and I mean, she's just got that in her DNA because she was born and raised at a higher altitude than most of the other athletes in the field. But I think what's really important to point out this year is that when Jean Monod hits the podium, she hits the top spot. She has 5 podiums this season, 5 victories, no second or third place finishes. So when she's good, she's the best. Secondly, she's done it in all disciplines except the mass start. She's 2 pursuit wins, now an individual win, and now a sprint win today. She's just got to. She can prove that she can do it all with a mass start victory, which she's going to have to wait for the World Championships because it's a pursuit here this week and a relay left. So her next mass start chance to prove that she can do it in every discipline is going to be at the World Championships, and there's nothing bigger than that except the Olympic Games.
Will this still be
Our first flower ceremony of the weekend. weekend here in Antholz, and once again, for the 5th time this season, it's Jean Monod who leads out the athletes. Villa having her bib adjusted, not quite enough for a podium finish today. At one point it looked set to be a podium, first podium in quite some while for Dorothea Villa, but as in Ruhpolding, just off it today, 4th place.
Representative and the sport legend of the alpine skiing, Alberto Tomba. On 3rd place.
Great Olympic champion Alberto Tomba handing out the medals today.
And a 8th podium of the season for Franziska Ploys. At Blip on home soil in Oberhof, looking long behind her now. She is back to her best and keeps her lead at the top of the overall standings. Will hold on to that yellow bib.
On 2nd place, representing Germany, Selina Gautier.
And a 2nd podium for Selina Glottian. A huge German contingent in the crowd, and they are very happy to see 2 Germans on the podium. The great form continuing from this German team as we fly towards the World Championships next month in Lenzerheide.
Natalie Saunter, Olympic biathlete from just down the valley in Toblach, handing out the flowers as well. And Alberto Tomba, as I said earlier, the 1988 Olympic champion in the slalom for Italy. Great legend in the sport.
Winner of the sprint competition, representing France, Jean Monod.
And Jean Monod does it again. Her 5th victory of the season, her first sprint win. An almost perfect day. 2nd in terms of ski time, but perfect shooting.
Yeah, she's just the complete biathlete right now. You look at even before this win today, she has not been the top skier, and she almost was today, very close, just 1/10 of a second off, and I think that's what she was alluding to, but she is at the top of her game right now, and this is a good time to be as you head into the World Championships in a month's time.
117 points separating her from Franziska Ploys, the woman to the right of her.
4th place, representing Italy,
The
Dorothea
overall
Villa.
standings, and Dorothea Villa,
5th place,
not enough for a first podium since Ostersund in the 22-23 season.
6th place, representing France, Jean Richard.
It's a good positioning for Dorothea Villa for the pursuit on Saturday. Jean Richard also in hunt of back-to-back podiums, and once again came close to it today. She rounds out the flower ceremony with Julia Simon.
Franziska Ploys, Dorothea Villa, Julia Simon.
So your podium here for the first day of action in Antholz. Jean Monod adding yet another victory to her name this season. A big smile on the face of the Frenchwoman, who will lead out the pursuit on Saturday. The action continues tomorrow with the men's 10 kilometre sprint, which gets underway at 2:30 Central European time. And then, as mentioned, it is the women's pursuit, which will kick things off on Saturday, followed by the men's relay, before the women's relay and the men's pursuit round out the weekend. But we will be back at 2:30 Central European time tomorrow for the men's 10 kilometre sprint.